Yo, here we go live. So, hello everyone. Welcome to Meshery Development Meeting. Today is November 9, and make sure you write your name in attendance list. So, before we begin the call, we will follow our weekly tradition to welcome newcomers in this call. So, if you are a newcomer or joining this call for the first time, feel free to unmute yourself. I see few newcomers and one old timer in this call. So, would like to introduce yourself, or should I pick your name?
Hi, I will introduce myself. I'm also a newcomer after a long time. Hi. Yeah, so I'm Dhruv. I'm currently working at Oracle and just interested in open source. That's why someone told me Layer 5 was a good place to start.
Oh man, I'm not sure what Drew's in the house. Man, all right. Okay. Oh man, I almost forgot about your email. Drew's here. That's all right. Yeah. Mr. Patel. I'm beside myself.
Yeah, welcome, Dhruv. So, yeah, do we have newcomers? I guess Harsh Goenka. Is it your first time attending this call? Would you like to say hi?
Yeah, hi. Am I audible?
Yep, you are.
Yeah, hi Gaurav. It's Harsh here. So I'm working as a cloud engineer right now, cloud and DevOps engineer in a company called CloudSide currently. So I'm here in Meshery just to just to start with open source, like how thing works.
Yeah, that's great.
And just one more question, like I need to know how I can start contributing to these stuffs. Like I have no idea.
Yeah, sure. For that, we have a newcomers call, which will be tomorrow.
Okay.
So, yeah, you can subscribe to Layer 5 community calendar or just say hi in Slack and newcomers channel. So they will let you know about Layer 5 projects and how you can start contributing to it.
Okay.
So did I miss anyone? So Karan, is it your first time attending this call or you have been here?
Sorry, I'm using my brother's email. I'm Krishna.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no worries. Yeah. So did I miss anyone? If yes, they can unmute yourself and say hi. If not, let's move to today's agenda items. So I guess not. So first we have Ashish on updates in migration to mesh model components. Ashish would like to take over.
Yeah, I'll take over. So yeah, so this is about the migration to mesh model components. Just to give a little bit of context, in order to process the designs or the pattern files that we have, we used to use the OM spec, which was not exactly the OM spec, but kind of one implementation of the OM spec. And we were moving away from it because of some reasons, numerous reasons actually. So this migration is going to be a gradual process. It will happen in phases. So we have these components which we call mesh model components now, and to see the older format, you can go over to any of the adapters, and if you'll go into templates, OM workloads, you'll find these JSON files, and these were the definition files, you can say, for the components. For each of the adapters we had these, and for Kubernetes we had these. So basically these were the design files or the pattern files were an instantiation of these definitions, but we are changing the format of these definitions to the new format, which is the mesh model format, and I'm tracking that migration over here. So basically in the first stage, what will happen is that I'll not touch any of the the existing OM workloads, and add the mesh model workloads, and there are two clients for the for these workloads. One is the UI, which consumes these definition files to render the forms that you see either in designer or in the design configurator. The other one is the pattern engine, which is the backend, which consumes these design files to do validation and to do delegation of requests, or basically all the backend stuff. So the front end stuff will happen. So the front end, the UI will use the new /API/mesh model endpoint. So also one more thing is that along with generating components for Kubernetes and each of the adapters, we are also scraping the artifact hub and in a workflow. So all these directories that you see over here, these are automatically generated from artifact hub, and these actually add quite a bit of overhead. So one discussion to be had is to where to have these files, whether to have these on the Meshery repo, or to basically have them somewhere else. So all of these are also in my PR being seeded at runtime. So when your Meshery server starts, all these components from Artifact Hub will be. So if I go over to the types to see what are all the types of, these are all the here, these are, you can say, models. So each model has a bunch of components. So like you can see OpenEBS, Kuma, and all those things, and they are versioned like this. And for each version has a bunch of these components. And so Kubernetes and the Artifact Hub components are right now seeded here, and UI can make use of that. And the pending PR is for each one of them. And then I will need some help in basically propagating these changes across the adapters. So the adapters would need some code change. So for folks interested in Golang, and if you want to contribute to, if you want to get started with some Golang contributions, you can. I'll create a PR in Istio, then you can help me propagate it, or I think that's the way to go. So yeah, this will. So this PR would land by today, most probably. Some changes in the way API is, some changes are needed there. So after I make those changes, this PR will probably land today. And the only doubt I would say I have is regarding where to have these new all the cloud native components that we automatically generate, whether to have them on file system or whether to have them someplace else and then fetch them. So what do you think, Lee? What, or anyone, what should if you have any suggestions? Because yeah, this will, if we add that onto the Docker image, it would bloat the size by around 50 megabytes. And when we keep because that's not going to be a fixed size, that will increase as more stuff is added into Artifact Hub. So maybe 100 megs or even more than that. So I don't think we should. Yeah, that was about the first thing. Any doubts or any questions regarding this thing?
A bit of feedback from me, and that is that, the question that Ashish is asking is, well, it's one of like convenience versus overhead. So Meshery, it's not prominently mentioned just yet, but it will be very soon, that Meshery supports like, I don't know, a few hundred different components, different objects that are specific to individual cloud native projects. So like Prometheus, for example, or Argo or Envoy or Jaeger, or there's this list that you're seeing here. So like traffic or Meshery gets really specific with how to manage those individual workloads, those individual things that can run on Kubernetes. And when it does, it generates, between 1 to, 50 something components for each of these names here. So for Chaos Mesh, there's different ways you can configure Chaos Mesh. And so the question that Ashish is asking is, well, should all of those components be baked into the Meshery Docker image that's shipped? The more of those that are baked in, the more bloated that image is, just the footprint of it, the size of it. And so anyway, without spending a lot of time doing pre-optimization, like 55 megs wouldn't kill us, like wouldn't kill the project. Wouldn't hurt to have them all on right now. At least in terms of that footprint, it might hurt it might flex some of the APIs, and and that'll confirm whether or not those APIs support pagination or not, or do it well. A compromise is to do something like, hey, for any of just take a broad swath of the most popular cloud native projects, like those that are of a graduated status within the CNCF. Those that are within the CNCF actually is one way of approaching it, because there's many of those components that we're looking at for projects that aren't. There's about 140 or so projects in the CNCF. And taking those and baking those in, leaving the rest as things that people can just turn on. So once a user has deployed Meshery, if they're running Meshery, they could just pick from a list and say, yeah, download these, if they wanted to enable some that weren't available locally.
Yeah, makes sense.
Which is a flow that we support already, right? We have an extensions area in Meshery where you can go choose to enable like the public catalog, for example. And so you could imagine that the public catalog might also then just contain components, and not just, so today it has patterns and WebAssembly filters. It could also then have these components.
Okay. So the next topic is actually I've already talked about it. So it's about so these components that you see here, we need to get rid of them, and the workflow, there won't be any changes needed in the workflow that we have. Basically these components are generated on a nightly basis through the workflow. So we go and check for the latest version of a service mesh, and if there is one, then we generate components for those. But yeah, we need to delete these, and there is a one-time process required where we'll have to go through all the from 0 version to n version, n-1 or n version, and generate components for all these. And I'll do that for one service mesh, and I'll give you the steps so that other people who want to contribute, they can, I'll put it in a discuss form so that other people who want to take it from there, they can. And so that, yeah, we can take green all over in all the rows. And once we have mesh model components for all of these adapters as well as for everything, and once UI is using it, then we can go to the last phase and basically remove OM altogether from the backend as well. And third thing was about, yeah, this was about build and release meeting. So just to remind the folks, every Thursday we have not every Thursday, every second Thursday we have a build and release call. And if you have anything, if you want to have any action item regarding GitHub Actions, if you're interested in GitHub Actions or end-to-end tests or unit tests or integration tests, Cypress, etc., etc., then you can join the call and get some, because there are a bunch of failing tests right now about which we would want to discuss tomorrow. So if you are interested, if the word tests makes basically is of something of your interest, then yeah, please join the call tomorrow. And I won't discuss each of these things today because that would be redundant, since we're going to discuss these things tomorrow. So yeah, that was all from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashish. Next up, we have Pranav on delete meshing data on deleting Kubernetes context. Pranav would like to share your screen. Pranav, you're on mute.
Okay, sorry. So I was saying that last time I discussed about this PR in which I'm working on a feature wherein as soon as we delete a Kubernetes context, then the meshing data related to that context should also be deleted so that we don't see any stale data on the Meshery UI. So I was working on this PR. This PR is complete now. So, and I've also completed all the reviews which were asked for this PR. So if I give a quick demo, then first of all, whenever we try to delete it from here, now we see a model. Earlier we were seeing that alert kind of thing. I've changed that to use that model which we use across other places of Meshery UI. So when we click on this, only then it gets deleted. Currently it will reconnect to that cluster because I'm having one cluster in my system. But if you are not, then it would skip that thing. Similarly, if we go to the settings page and we try to delete the context, then it will again ask for that modal, and then it will delete it. In the backend, what I'm doing is that I'm using that context ID, and then I'm looking for the cluster IDs that matches this context ID, and then if the reference count is equal to 1, only then I'm deleting the meshing data. So this PR is ready for review now. Any questions? Just one thing to note is that currently I'm not focusing on tombstoning right now. That would come in the second PR because that requires a review of the queries which we have across Meshery server as well as other repository that queries this meshing data. So that is I look that in a separate PR. So any questions?
So just to clarify, right now, the behavior of this operation is to just delete those records from the database.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Hard delete. Yeah.
Nice. So there's like, just as we're ramping Dhruv back or getting him back up to speed on things, maybe he'll find something of interest. Maybe Dhruv will be back next week. We'll see. But irrespective, there's a lot of things that has transpired since he was last able to spend a bunch of time here. He spent a bunch of time here. One is that there's a collection of people, some of which are on this call, that have made Meshery a multi-Kubernetes cluster manager. And so I mentioned that because that's a pretty cool thing that it does, which then means that Meshery is quite valuable or offers a lot of value out of context of a service mesh, which is what it's kind of known for today, or is certainly the way that its project docs have a lot to do with service mesh. That needs to change. But I also mention this because so for mesh sync, which is a component of Meshery's operator, you install Meshery's operator in each Kubernetes cluster that Meshery server connects to, or each Kubernetes cluster that you have Meshery talk to, it installs an operator. A custom controller or a component that runs in there is called mesh sync. It's just sending over interesting Kubernetes updates to Meshery server that centralizes all that info so that users can look over all of that info in one place. To the extent that a user wanted to flush that mesh sync information or that specific information for a given Kubernetes cluster, that's the feature that Pranav is referring to. So that's quite helpful. And the fact that it hard deletes is, in many respects, like comforting, particularly in so much as, Pranav, did you say when there's a hard delete done like this, that in the same operation, there's a request sent back to that same mesh sync instance for kind of a full synchronization?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is a separate thing. This is related to deleting context, Kubernetes context, not flushing the data. If you flush the data, that is already there for reconciliation.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. So this was connecting the dots between making sure that when a Kubernetes context is deleted, so too is the mesh sync data respective to that cluster. Okay. Gotcha. Other feedback for Pranav? Questions on somebody might end up sharing a Meshery architecture diagram so that it becomes evident where mesh sync sits and what the Meshery operator is. Cool. So it looks like Harkarat up next.
Yep. So Harkrit has joined the meeting now. So Harkrit would like to present. we are on your topic.
Yeah, I think I'm on time. So, where are the meeting minutes? Just give me 1 second. Ah, yeah. So my like the issues were related to the design configurator. So there were several bug fixes around the form we use in the design configurator, that is RGSF form. So I did some fixes. So there were actually 4 fixes I did, and hopefully it got merged. And that's all about me, like fixing those bugs. Yeah, these were the bugs. Like I did it.
Nice. No
Yeah.
demo no demo, huh?
So these were let me
Pretty
show you
small.
like pretty small stuff. Like somewhere it was between the fonts and the other stuff related to the design configurator and the stuff we use on the mesh map, the node configuration form. Yeah,
Nice.
pretty simple stuff.
You make it look so easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool, Harkirat. So next up we have covered Pranav's topic, and we have Nishant on a different package JSON script for building Meshery UI. So do we have Nishant on the call? Nope. So yeah, we'll move forward to next topic by Dipesha. I don't think Dipesha is also on the call. So I'll cover this topic by Dipesha. So Layer 5 has a dedicated writing program. So if you are into writing technical or non-technical blogs, writing articles, resources, giving a workshop or organizing an event or recording product videos, so this particular writing program is for you, and you can just fill in this Layer 5 content registration form. I'll just share the link of this in chat so you all can take a quick look. So yeah, moving to next item by Antoinette on Meshy Playground workflow. Antoinette would like to share.
Yes, so at this point, I've already created the VM necessary to go ahead and deploy the playground. But I have not started on the workflow, but I will be working on that today. And once I have that up, I will send a PR. I probably will put in a draft for now, just to see if anybody would like to provide any feedback on it in the meantime. But other than that, I should have something today. So.
Nice. Yeah, Antoinette, have you been able to build and run a playground version of Meshery?
Yes and no, but I'll be doing that after this call. And if I run into some issues, I will let you all know. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks, Antoinette. So next up we have update from Abhi. Abhi would like to share.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So my update is regarding the uniform use of node versions. We have different number of contributors, and we don't have. I mean, we use in GitHub workflow. We build and use UI in different places. One of them is the workflow, one of them is the contributors, and some of them might be someone else doing it locally. So we have recently have been reported with a bunch of issues around node upgrade, because there has been one of the breaking update in the security context where where there is an open, there is an security update that fixes some high priority security vulnerability issues in the node and runtime. And they are now using OpenSSL v3 and Node 16 and below it, Node 16 and 14, which are still under LTS support, I think, doesn't have this thing. They're still using the legacy OpenSSL. So the build is, fine when we do it via those node versions, but with the release of the latest node versions, so node 18 or 17, the upgrade is there. Uh, and for some reason, in the CI environment or for some local contributors, the build is failing, and it's failing with some security issues. So that's why there needs to be some changes in the build script to let me yeah there needs to be some changes in the build script to address those things. And secondly, like recently and after the introduction of this uh, I will not call it bug, but this thing where some of the users can successfully build and deploy Meshery while some of them not, and workflows are failing because they are using Node 18, or it was not earlier because they were using Node 16. So there is we find it a required item to use an nvm rc file. So what nvm rc does is that it enforces certain node version to be used in the UI. So it's called node version manager. And whatever the nvm rc file contains, for example, it may contain node 18.xs. So for any contributor or for anyone who is building the UI, they will require only node 18. And if they're not having the node 18 version, so some pretty useful commands like nvm use or nvm uh, install, etc., will install the correct node version for them and use that node version to build that. So it will bring the uniformity across everyone who is building the UI and using it. So it will pretty much solve a lot of issues that we are facing right now, and that's being reported by various contributors. So yeah, that was the update around it. So definitely we want to move we want to use, first of all, the nvm rc file and need to see the OpenSSL. What we are doing right now is that one of the Docker, we built the UI for the Docker what Docker extension thing. So that is using Node 18, and rest of the UI wherever we are building, it uses Node 16. So Node 18 has this issue where OpenSSL is throwing errors. So we are using the legacy, something as legacy. I don't recall it, but I have opened it somewhere. Anyways, there was something related to OpenSSL using legacy version of OpenSSL, but we don't want to, because this is a good update, and it will solve some communication bugs, sorry, security bugs also. So we just want to move away of Node 16 and use Node 18 and rectify all the issues and accept all the security fixes that Node is providing us. Yeah, I think that's it from my side.
Yeah, so any questions or feedback for Abhi?
Abhi, just understanding that the project has released its .6 version, and one of the I don't know if you'd say a feature, but one of the objectives of the upcoming .7 release is to get to MUI 5 and React 17, if I'm remember, and then Next.js 13, I think, which is pretty fresh. I assume that this upgrade to Node 18 only helps with that, but is there any intersection that we should be aware of, or that?
I don't think. Node 16 with the MUI 5 is still compatible. Node 18 will definitely upgrade us to using latest node releases and latest changes that they have done, mostly positive. So it don't have
Okay.
any intersection, but it may. I'm also quite not sure like whether it does have or doesn't have. But what I think is it doesn't have.
Oh yeah, all could only be positive. So that makes. Also, speaking of the upgrade to Node 18 being positive, Antoinette, do you have a sense of, outside of this OpenSSL challenge, which this upgrade helps with, do you have a sense of the potential impact on outstanding vulnerabilities related to other vulnerabilities that might go away based on this upgrade?
Yes, I do. Since the last time that I looked at it, I noticed that just running the Node 18 and just making sure that you go and npm install the packages, and then there were already a lot of outdated packages, and also there were some that have been deprecated and have been migrated to a different one. But it can be a baby step. We can get there. So I would say it's more positive than negative. But if anyone disagrees, just let me know. We can still work through it though. So.
Nice.
Thank you, Abhi. So next up we have is a topic by Kumar Vikram. So need help on this issue. So Vikram, are you with us on the call? Yep. So would like to ask any doubts or anything, or is your doubt is answered by Pranav?
Yeah, hello, if I am audible.
Yep, you are.
Yes, yeah.
So I'm not being clear about what we have to actually, what's the desired design. So actually I have to made, I think according to me, I have to made add cluster button like that create design button in designer page.
Yeah, so like from this issue, I can see the ask is like that. It's a styling issue for this add icon. So you need to match with the designs and the other page that we have in the settings page for this add cluster. Right, Pranav, or like anything else would like to add?
Yeah, actually, there are two things to be done. The first thing is the placement of the add cluster button. Earlier we were discussing that it doesn't look really nice based on what we have in other pages. Like if you are running Meshery, should I share my screen?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, 1 second. So if I go to a page, design page, then the thing is that the create design and the other buttons are separate out from the actual content of the page. So we were discussing this on our last dev call, that should we place this outside of this, or should we have a different design for this particular thing? Um, this is the first thing. And the second thing is that is very straightforward, that this button needs to be changed with with the styling of which we use elsewhere. Like this blue should be there and it should be enhanced. There should be delete context. So if anyone have a better view on this, they can speak up. Should we place this outside?
About
Yeah.
the art cluster thing, we can just reverse the order, then I think it will look better. Like if we move the icons to the left side and the art cluster to the right side, then it will look as something good, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe. But
I'll yeah.
I just telling that in all the different table contents that we just use the same thing, everything on the right, like all the action items. So it's maintaining the uniformity. And the add cluster, if just goes outside of this table, I mean, add cluster is directly related to the environment specification, and it's something not related to maybe adapters metrics or reset. So moving it out of this table itself will, I don't know if it will be a good approach to do it, or like it should be placed somewhere else, just in the environment tab only. That's just my point of view.
Abhishek, the add cluster is related to environment tab only, right?
What I think, yes, yeah.
If it is related to environment tab, then we should keep it in environment tab itself, because then like the user will get confused that is it related to adapters, metrics, and reset also. I mean, this is my
Yeah.
thought.
I had the same concern, yes.
Okay, so then we can leave this here for now, and we can just fix on this delete button with better styling. So Vikram, just said I've answered your questions.
Yeah, I'm clear now.
Okay, so
So by the way, whatever we are doing here, let's make sure that we use the same thing. For example, we use the same approach of deleting in designs, filters, and applications. So maybe we need to move to that blocked design thing, design button. So moving away of the icon button, then we'll make sure that these three pages are also in sync, and there should be an uniformity across all the different MUI data tables.
Yeah, for my part, I can't help but chime in and say and reinforce what Avi was saying about consistency of UX. That's really key to having an intuitive UX. Zora chimed in, I thought, with a good, with like the crux of the issue. Like her suggestion was spot on, that like, well, hey, if you have an action like add cluster that's specific to this tab, the environment tab. So if Gaurav or whoever's sharing, if you or Pranav, if you were to migrate, go to the adapters tab or a different, it's like, so the issue is you should not see add cluster. You should not see that button because it's inappropriate to show that under the adapters menu. And therein lies kind of the challenge. Like I'm with Sahil as well, where it feels a little more natural to me to have the button on the right-hand side, which is sort of in following with the other pages. The thing is, on the other pages as well, we also have the table search, table filter stuff. So it's like, hey, if the entire page is dedicated to a single table display, here's how that works. We've got the buttons on the background or on the paper in the background, and then the table in this elevated card or this elevated paper. But yeah, so the conundrum, this is funny because it's like such a simple, conceptually simple thing, but I think a little bit hard to address, or rather it's a great challenge for like Abdullah and Vikram and like just basically anybody on here to like Franklin to suggest, here's how you might want to do that. Here's how you might want to do that in a multi-tabbed view. It might mean that the answer affects the rest of these other pages, just like Abhi was pointing out, like, hey, whatever that solution is, let's make sure that, that we maintain some amount of consistent UX. Hey, one thing that's happening here that bugs me, and I have to mention it, is there's a bunch of extra white space, vertical white space above the import application button. And it's sort of just being completely wasted. So like, it'd be great if we remove that. So.
Yeah, thanks Vikram for bringing up this issue. That was a great discussion on UX items. So next up we have is Sahil on collaboration with Krishna, Kamal and Gaganpreet on integrations page.
Yeah, so like there are a couple of things that I have to work on. Like first of all, I need to collaborate with Krishna, Kamal, and Gaganpreet. But the thing is, like Kamal is not be able to work on it due to Gaurav. This is not the page. Like it is for the Meshery integration page.
Oh yeah.
So that's why like Kamala will be not able to like work on it, I think. And for Gagan Preet, she is not responding. So like I will take over their work and just do the modification as per needed.
Yeah, sounds cool. Thanks, Sahil. So next up we have is an item on Meshery test plan. So Lee or Ashish, any one of you would like to just give a quick brief about it or items we need over here?
Yeah, actually, this was to be discussed in tomorrow's call, so I think we can go to the next item if this was not the last item.
Yep, yeah, sure. So next up we have an item by Augustus on.
Yeah, this one as well for tomorrow.
Sure. So Rituraj is out for today, so we'll skip his item. Next we have Subedi on volunteers needed for consolidation compatibility matrix on supported platform page. Subedi, are you with us? Yep.
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, okay, I'll share my screen. Okay, so I was working on an issue to consolidate. I was tracking an issue to consolidate the comparable metrics in the supported platform page. There was someone assigned to the issue, but the individual didn't do that. And I originally my plan was to ask the volunteers to who are interested to do the project, but I implemented the thing by myself only. Yeah, it's not yet complete, but yeah, this is the initial review, you can say. I'll just remove this one thing. Just a minute. Okay, so just to give a brief overview of what I'm doing is that we have this compatibility matrix where we store all the test results and the integration tests. Now we want to show in a brief overview of how these test results are affected. So we have compatibility matrix according to this Kubernetes versions and according to the test results that we get for each end-to-end test on each adapter. So what our plan was that to consolidate this compatibility matrix on the supported platforms page, which currently we have it like this. Which currently is just this, which shows how like what are the platforms Meshery is compatible with. So we try to consolidate this compatible matrix into the supported platform page itself. So yeah, this is how it looks like right now. I have like implemented the table itself, and we don't have compatible matrix for these. So these require a little bit styling, but yeah, this is the final one for not like if the matrix is not yet available. This is the one that will be shown, and for Kubernetes we have this. So yeah, any feedbacks?
Yeah, I think an item for consideration is that you might kill the Raspberry Pi tab.
Okay.
Because I think actually, Ashish, you had eliminated, or you are in the process rather of adding an additional database type support for Meshery, which is Postgres. And if people choose to use the Postgres deployment of Meshery, there might be a fully ARM compatible set of Meshery components, right? Because I think the only outstanding component that isn't yet compatible with ARM, which I have to believe that Raspberry Pi is run on, is Meshery Server, right? And that's because of SQLite.
Yeah.
Okay.
Although we'll have to let them know that basically they can only use Postgres on the ARM platforms. They cannot use unless actually there are a bunch of different libraries. The one we use is actually does use Seago. I don't know whether it's worth the effort to go and look for another one which doesn't use Seago, and so that we can be SQLite, so we can support SQLite on ARM as well. So I don't know whether that's a place to put efforts into, so that the SQLite and Postgres are both ARM compatible. So to give a little bit of context, right now we have SQLite as a database, and the library that we use actually uses Seago, and that requires a bunch of dependencies. And in the Docker image that we have, the image that we use that has those dependencies is only x86 compatible, and I'll try to look for an ARM compatible image that has those dependencies but couldn't find. So that's the reason we don't support ARM right now. But as we move to Postgres, we won't be needing those Seago dependencies. So we can support. So for the Postgres deployments, yes, the ARM-based machines would be able to run Meshery, would be able to deploy Meshery. Yeah, that's it.
Makes sense. So I'm noticing the use of the NAs are not applicable, which is great. It's informational to the user. We probably have a sorting issue, Subedi, with the Kubernetes version, and trying to do like the alphanumeric sort. That I'm sure is kind of a pain in the rump. But
yeah, it's very difficult.
It does seem. I am a little surprised at how many NAs we're seeing in the Meshery OSM column.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So, yeah, I guess it's set to only to be ticked for this thing. Yeah, I need to edit this also. Like it should be less than 23.9. All should be NA. Greater than 23.9, it should be not NA. Yeah, I think there's a bug in there.
Got you. Yeah, but this is otherwise. So this is otherwise pretty fantastic, Subedi, because it's a lot of information at people's fingertips, and the users who are running Meshery certainly want to know, what as they go to upgrade their Kubernetes clusters. In this case, what can they expect, and what's the ongoing compatibility? As you hover over any of these items, you can see, I think, the percentages. And so if you were to click on any of these, I think this is. I think part of the real challenge.
All the integration.
And so these are all the integration. These are all of the, how would you say, the test runs that have been done. So in this case, integration tests for
this particular adapter.
That adapter at that version of the thing and then if you click on any of these rows, if you like, that's just the overall, like, hey, there's any number of integrate. Rather, if you go back, if you click on, if you like. There's two levels of drilling in, if I recall.
Yeah.
Do you want it? So great. So in this case, there were 2 integration tests performed against that specific version of Kubernetes. Like, okay. So yeah, that's quite a bit of detail. It's quite a bit of summarization happening, which makes for a really powerful matrix. So we have Docker, Mac, Windows, Kubernetes as 4 prominently represented platforms. Sort of, yeah, okay. Good. Yeah, in some respects, it just feels weird that Linux isn't there, but Linux is just implicit to all of it. So,
yeah.
But yeah.
Should I make a thing for Linux also?
I don't know. Gosh, I don't know. Probably not.
Yeah. Okay.
Looking good. It's looking really good.
Yeah. All right. So if there's any more feedback, I'll open the PR today itself, and if there's any more feedback, you can post it there. So thank you.
Thanks, Avedi. So next item we have is by Uzair. So do we have Uzair on the call? Nope. So yeah, Uzair, Nikhil Ladda, and many other folks are working on this staging Meshery.io self-user sign up. So Lee, would you like to just give a quick overview of this staging Meshery?
Yeah, is Meshmate Nikhil? Okay, and Uzair isn't on, and there's so many other people that have. So, man, I hate to take the thunder. Pranav, do you want to talk about this?
Yeah, I can share my screen. 1 second. So as we all have been using Meshery for a while, when we log into Meshery asks for, as of now, Meshery asks for a couple of providers when you log into, but there wasn't any way to log into Meshery directly using your email address. So if as of today you go to staging-meshery.clarify.io, then this is the new login screen which you would see, which will allow you to log inside of Meshery or Meshery Cloud based on your GitHub account, your Google account, or you can directly create an account with Clarify. That is, this is the thing which we have been working on for a while, and this has a lot of different flows, as in which were not available before, like for getting an account or verification email. So yeah, if I can quickly log into this based on my GitHub account. I'll be back 1 second.
Cool. Hey, I'm going to squeeze in a couple of updates if I can. So one is about, well, it's just to give further context as to what Pranav is showing everyone. So when you run Meshery, the first thing that it will do is ask if you would like to sign in. I'm building a copy of Meshery now, so I'll bring it up in just a moment, but it'll ask if you want to sign in, and you can choose not to, or you can choose to sign into Meshery Cloud. And so Meshery Cloud does a few, it does more things than we have time to explain. But there have been about 4 or so contributors. So Meshery Cloud has been around for 2.5 years. So since about the time of the project had started. It's been pretty lightweight thus far. It's been, lets you have an account, lets you store your performance profiles, lets you create designs, load patterns, keep your WASM filters there. It does a number of things, but it provides identity for you and lets you retrieve your information. Even if you turn off Meshery and you delete your instance of Meshery server, you can come back, sign into the same account. It's quite convenient in that regard. It's so Pranav and Rutraj and Nikhil and Uzair have been working to, well, this is the current architectural model for Meshery Cloud. This is what's in production right now. There's kind of 2 components. There's a Golang server, pretty small, and there's another server that deals with generating JOTs or generating JWT tokens. What these 4 gentlemen have done is add another component to the Meshery Cloud deployment. That other component is to provide these self-service user flows that Pranav was just showing. And so this component will deal with, well, it really brings identity, and it makes it such that you can now sign up with an email address for a Meshery Cloud account, as well as have, as well as also generate and use API tokens. There's GitHub actions there's a couple of GitHub actions that the community has produced for Meshery, and those GitHub actions, you can take and use that personal token. So you can programmatically interact with Meshery's two different APIs. Meshery has a REST API and a GraphQL API. And anyway, that's some of the stuff that's under the covers. Pranav, I didn't mean to take over what you were going to show, but I did, so too late. And since we're out of time, like so Pranav was going to show like, this right now, this is what the production Meshery Cloud environment looks like. And then shortly, hopefully later today, actually, maybe it will be upgraded to look a little bit different, to look like this, so that you can not just have to sign in with a social identity provider, but to sign up more directly. And since we're here and we've got an instance of Meshery running now, I'm just gonna, excuse me, I'm just gonna sign in, because there's something else that people have been working on a lot. And it's a couple of different extensions. One of those is, well, Root Raj was going to demo this, but he wasn't able to make it today. He's been working on the ability to publish designs that any of you make in the system here. If you're designing like a configuration of your Kubernetes cluster, or any of those hundreds of components that we were talking about earlier on the call, if you're creating those and designing those and having Meshery provision that infrastructure, you want to save those designs and give them names and have them deployed. You might also want to share them publicly, or you might want to import from the public facing catalog. You can import Helm charts into Meshery, Kubernetes manifests, or even Docker Compose files. Meshery will automatically convert your Docker Compose file into a Kubernetes manifest. And it does so that you can design your infrastructure in this way. This design configurator and that integration with the public facing catalog, the link has been shared, I think, a couple of times. It's an early catalog. So if any of you make interesting designs, like there's a publish button, so feel free to publish. There's this other plugin called MeshMap that has had a number of enhancements recently. One of those is for real-time user collaboration, such that multiple users can be in here working on the same design and at the same time, so that they can, stop like disagreeing over how things are designed, or stop like misunderstanding each other, which is great. This becomes a bit like, I don't know, Google Docs for DevOps or Figma for DevOps. And so, yep, these same designs are the same things that can be exported and published to that catalog. You can validate your designs and deploy them, again, to one or more Kubernetes clusters. Assuming that my deployment, my local deployment is up and doing what it's supposed to, you can also visually go through and interact with your runtime, interact with things that are actively running in your environment. So anyway, I just couldn't help but show the part, because Dhruv is here. And I just wanted to show him that what all of his work has turned into. So. Gaurav, back to you.
Yep. So yeah, we are on time, 2 minutes later. So I guess we can wrap the meeting and cover other items in the next meeting.
Yep. So we have the next meeting tomorrow. The Meshery build and release meeting on Thursdays every couple of weeks. So tomorrow, I think just a couple hours later than now. And
Yep.
then nice. Well, hey, for my part, there's a couple of people that I was just chatting with in Zoom chat that I think I'll try to continue that conversation in Slack. And so I'll ask the maintainers here and some of the meshmates here to help get Ali and Zora and Harsh and Abdullah a foothold somewhere. So, yeah. Cool. Thanks for hosting, Gaurav.
Yep. Thank you everyone for joining. We'll meet you all next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye,
everyone.
everyone.
Bye all. Yeah.